Not one rice grain, not one rice, not a blade of grass. We love the open country of the Rupununi and the Essequibo, daytime or night. Though we may criticize it, this is our home, we love it, and we need to keep it. We have that right. So we ain't giving up no mountain. We ain't giving up. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not one blue sake. Not one rice grain. Not one rice. Not a blade of grass. So we ain't giving up no mountains. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass. We are a peaceful people. Struggle is we struggle, and we don't look for trouble. Just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. We ain't giving up no mountains. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass. This land is all I know. We gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow and never break. Our fathers came here and they lived and died here, and we ain't moving nowhere. Make no mistake, 'cause we ain't giving up no mountain. We ain't giving up. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one rice, not a blade of grass. We love the open country of the Rupununi and the Essequibo, daytime or night. Though we may criticize it, this is our home, we love it, and we need to keep it. We have that right. So we ain't giving up no mountain. We ain't giving up. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass. So we ain't giving up no mountains. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass. We are a peaceful people. Struggle is we struggle, and we don't look for trouble. Just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places. Talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. We ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karage, not a blade of grass. This land is all I know. We gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow and never break. Our fathers came here and they lived and died here, and we ain't moving nowhere. Make no mistake, 'cause we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karage, not a blade of grass. We love the open country of the Rupununi and the Essequibo, daytime or night. Though we may criticize it, this is our home, we love it, and we need to keep it. We have that right. So we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karage, not a blade of grass. So we ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karage, not a blade of grass. We are a peaceful people, struggle is we struggle, and we don't look for trouble, just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. We ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karage, not a blade of grass. This land is all I know. We gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow and never break. Our fathers came here and they lived and died here, and we ain't moving nowhere. Make no mistake, 'cause we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karage, not a blade of grass. We love the open country of the Rupununi and the Essequibo, daytime or night. Though we may criticize it, this is our home, we love it, and we need to keep it. We have that right. So we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karage, not a blade of grass. So we ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass.
Hello everyone, I'm Yannick December. Hello everyone, I'm Yannick December, Public Relations Officer at the Parliament Office. I'm also a member of the Planning Committee for the Speaker's National Youth Debating Competition, a competition which serves as a feeder into the annual Youth Parliament. Youth Parliament was first hosted in 2015 under the speakership of the Honourable Raphael Trotman. At present, Speaker of the National Assembly, the Honourable Mansour Nadir, thought it best to widen participation to allow more youths to become knowledgeable of the institution of Parliament. 16 youth groups from across our educational districts are participating in this competition. 8 of those groups will advance to participate in this year's Youth Parliament. What's in it for you, you may ask? Trophies, plaques, cash prizes, tablets, and a laptop for the best debater in the final debate. The final debate will be held at 2 p.m. on Tuesday, the 31st of May, 2022. Like last year, we are pleased to have you tune into this competition and promise that you will experience robust debates from our participants. I will now hand you over to the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Honourable Mansour Nadir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The rules of the competition are as follows. Each team must consist of only 3 members, all from the same youth group. Failure to comply will result in the disqualification of the team. Once a team has started the competition, no member shall be replaced. The first speaker will be the first speaker of the proposition, followed by the first speaker of the opposition, and shall alternate in this order. The time allotted for each speaker are as follows. First speaker, 5 minutes. Second speaker, 4 minutes. Third speaker, 4 minutes. And for the rebuttal, 5 minutes. The rebuttal will be done by the first speaker on each team, in the order of opposing, then proposing. No new arguments or material shall be introduced into the rebuttal. 10 points will be deducted for introduction of new arguments. A bell will be rung first to indicate that the speaker should commence. The second bell will indicate that 1 minute is remaining, and there will be a final bell when the time has elapsed. 5 points will be deducted from each speaker who does not adhere to the allotted time. In the event of technical difficulties, a speaker may be allotted additional time. This is at the discretion of the judges. Speakers may refer to notes but should not read them. 5 points will be deducted from any speaker who reads a prepared speech. Points will be awarded for reasoning and logic, originality, relevance, mechanics, articulation, attitude to opponent, development of argument, and cohesion. And finally, the judges' decisions are final. Those
Good afternoon, judges, debaters, staff, online audience. Welcome back to the quarterfinals of the Speaker's National Youth Debating Competition. This morning, we saw the CAST Talent Management battle against the West Bank Young Achievers, and the CAST Talent Management emerge victors of that riveting competition. This afternoon, our esteemed judges for the second debate in the quarterfinals are Mrs. Indrani Chandrapal. She is our chief judge today. Mrs. Chandrapal is the chairperson of the Women and Gender Equality Commission and was elected as the president of the Inter-American Commission of Women, serving from 2001 to 2003. Mrs. Chandrapal was also a member of Parliament for 27 years and a two-term Minister of Government. She served as Minister of Human Services and Social Security, and during that time also she chaired numerous parliamentary committees. Our second judge, Mrs. Monette Garnett Christopher, is the Chief Administrative Officer here at the Parliament Office, and her career began at Queen's College as an economics teacher. Mrs. Christopher then joined the Parliament Office as a expenditure planning and management analyst, I believe, at the Parliament Office. Mrs. Christopher has a Master of Business Administration degree and a Bachelor of Sciences degree in economics from the University of Guyana. She is also no stranger to the public stage or public speaking, as she herself was victorious in numerous competitions and has judged many. Our third judge, Miss Miracle Miller, one of our own. Miss Miller is a volunteer of the Georgetown Stabroek Leos Club, where she enjoys assisting persons. Her love for the English language propelled her to the position of Best Graduating English Student in the year 2012, when she completed her high school diploma at Christ Church Secondary School. In 2016 and 2017, Ms. Miller participated in a youth training program hosted by the Department of Youth Empowerment Unit at Madwini Training Center. And then she elevated to become one of Guyana's youth ambassadors to the United Nations. Ms. Miller is also a former youth parliamentarian, and then she copped the Best Speaker Award in Youth Parliament 2018. Today, she holds a bachelor's degree of engineering in applied and exploration geology, something many of us, I'm sure, are unable to do. And Ms. Miller also holds a firm belief in serving her country. Welcome, welcome, our judges. Our teams for today. The proposing team for this afternoon's debate is the Grove Diamond Youths in Development. This youth group was established in July 2009, and the founders at that time focused on assisting youths, particularly in the areas of development workshops. And they focus mainly on school dropouts and the less fortunate. This group has some 25 members and is consistently involved in charitable work. Their first speaker is Ms. Bibi Yassin, 22 years old from Lusignan, East Coast, Demerara. And Ms. Bibi is very popular here. The second speaker, Mr. Narish Sugrim, 22 years old from Herstellin, East Bank, Demerara. And their third speaker, Ms. Tamira Reddy, 22 years old from Craig Village, East Bank, Demerara. And which group will they go against? The opposing team is the Angois Avenue Youth Friendly Space. Angois Avenue was launched in 2006 and seeks to have the involvement of young people in the designing and implementation of services and activities for young people. Their services include counseling, mentorship, literacy and numeracy, life skills education, information technology, to name a few. Their first speaker, Ms. Latoya Bethune, 18 years old from Rose Hall Town, Quarantine, Berbice, and she was the best speaker of the last debate she was in. Second speaker, Ms. Kimberly Smith, 20 years old from Quarantine, Berbice, and their final speaker, Mr. Delroy Marks, 21 years old from Rose Hall Town, Berbice. I must say I'm looking forward to this debate today. Two extremely, extremely competent debating teams. The mood for today: medical services in Guyana are adequately addressed. I now declare this debate open, and I call on the first speaker of the proposing team, Ms. Bibi Yassin.
What's up?
Every citizen has the right to free medical attention, and also to social care in case of old age and disability. Chapter 1012, Article 24 of Guyana's Constitution. Moderator, sagacious judges, wise opposition, audience all, good afternoon. We, the members of the proposition, stand ardently before you here this afternoon to remove the plaster which exposes the reality, and that is, and I quote, medical services in Guyana are adequately addressed, unquote. Erudite judges, before we expose this reality, permit me to define the key terms of the moot. According to the Law Insider Dictionary 2022, medical services is defined as clinical, surgical, dental, x-ray, hospital, professional nursing, ambulance, and funeral services, and includes the cost of eyeglasses, hearing aids, prosthetic devices, orthopedic, and pharmaceutical. According to the Collins Dictionary 2022, adequately addressed is defined as able to fulfill a need or requirement without being abundant or outstanding. Honorable judges, considering the definition of the pertinent terms, we redefine the moot to mean, and I quote, medical services in Guyana are sufficiently addressed, unquote. Erudite judges, permit us to amputate the non-healing ulcer that medical services in Guyana are not adequately addressed. With that being said, I, Bibi Yassin, first speaker of the proposition, will edify you of Guyana's more than adequate medical services. Our second speaker, Naris Sugrim, will bring to light the adequacy of these services, while our final speaker, Timero Reddy, will eradicate the stigma that medical services in Guyana are not adequately addressed. Healthy opposition. According to the longest serving Minister of Health, who is the current advisor to the minister and once served as the president of the World Health Assembly and PAHO Directing Council, the Honorable Dr. Leslie Ramsamy stated in a discussion on April 25, 2022, and I quote, "The healthcare system is not perfect, but with our resources, we have provided the basic needs required," unquote. Sagacious judges, let us examine budget estimates 2010 and 2022, which will help us to understand what this statement means. According to the Guyana Operational Plan Report 2010, a meager $13.2 billion was allotted for medical services, while in 2022, a whopping $73.2 billion was allotted, with just $15.2 billion for the purchasing of drugs, reaching beyond the needs of all Guyanese. This comparison, honorable judges, reveals that through the resources we have and continue to explore, medical services are adequate and citizens are able to access beyond free basic medical services, which is in keeping in line with our constitutional right. And not forgetting, Guyana is keeping in line with the World Health Organization mandate, and that is, and I quote, "to give everyone, everywhere, an equal chance to a healthy life," unquote. Healthy opposition. Guyana's existing medical services are adequate and citizens everywhere are enjoying a healthy life. This is evident according to WHO report in May 2018, which proves an increase in life expectancy from 68 years to 70 years. This means 2 more years with our grandparents. Members of the opposition, a progress report in 2011 revealed, and I quote, "reducing the under 5 mortality rate, combating HIV and AIDS, combating malaria and other vector-borne diseases, combating cholera, leptospirosis, and other waterborne diseases," unquote. And this is according to the World Health Organization report in May 2018. Intelligent opposition, targets have been met beyond adequacy. I thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Yassin. And now for the first speaker of the opposing team, Ms. Latoya Bichun. Latoya, it's your turn.
In spirit of of tomorrow, I ask today, in a country that is 240,969 square kilometers in size and has a continuously growing population that is faced with different variety of medical issues, how can one say that the medical services are adequately addressed? Illustrious judges, distinguished speaker, precise timekeeper, members of the proposition, audience, I, Latoya Bethune, rise to expose the fallacy in this mood put before us today, which states that medical services in Guyana are adequately addressed. Also, I will define the key terms in the mood. Our second speaker will focus on the lack of physical and mental health services in relation to the COVID-19 pandemic. Our third speaker will complete the icing on this delicious cake we've prepared for you today. Prudent judges, the key terms are as follows. Medical. Dictionary.com defines medical as pertaining to or giving evidence of one's state of health. Services. According to the Cambridge Dictionary, services is defined as work done or help provided, especially to the public, for a person or an organization. Adequately. Cambridge Dictionary defines adequately as a way that is enough or satisfactory for a particular purpose. Address. To deal with something, usually skillfully or efficiently. Merriam-Webster Dictionary. Erudite judges. Guyana has not been known to have a robust medical care system to address complaints or problems. Every health minister since independence has been overwhelmed by problems besetting the system that has a culture of reform and change. Thus, in spite of an active minister and two very able former health ministers as assistants and advisors, problems continue to plague the state of healthcare in the country. In 2013, the World Health Organization, in combination with Guyanese government agencies and other stakeholders, created Health Vision 2020, a national health strategy enacted to improve the standard of living in Guyana. But was this adequately dealt with? Was full consideration given to the length and breadth of this beautiful country? What happened to 2021 and 2022? Noble speaker, though Guyana has made impressive improvement to its healthcare system, there is still room for improvement. Unequal access to healthcare system has plagued many in the hinterland areas. Members of the proposition, how can one say that medical services in Guyana are adequately addressed when healthcare services continue to be uneven across the country? The poor, particularly those populations living in rural interior locations in Region 1, 7, 8, and 9, continue to experience health outcomes below the national average. Distinguished judges, a report that was published by the Inter-American Development Bank in February 2021 highlighted that there are a number of issues affecting Guyana's indigenous villages, one being poor health care. The IDB said that, and I quote, "The lack of adequate numbers of full-time medical personnel is an important issue that needs to be addressed to improve the health and well-being of the residents in those villages." With respect to part-time medical personnel, it was found that 7 of 11 villages were discovered to have at least one part-time doctor. 5 had part-time dentists. 3 had part-time medics. 3 had part-time nurses, and none had part-time midwives or health workers. Barometer, Warumi, St. Ignatius, and Maritaro had no part-time medical personnel. This leads to ask the question, aren't these people Guyanese too? Members of the proposing team. According to the Drugs and Medical Supplies component in Health Vision 2020, this seeks to improve the timeliness, accessibility, and adequacy of supply of essential quality, safe,
cost-effective, scientifically sound drugs and medical products to health facilities in all the region. Yet, everyone knows about Panadol and chloroform because this is all they give to you. I thank you.
Thank you, Latoya. I give my children chloroform too. Our next speaker is the second speaker from the proposing team, Grove Diamond Youth in Development. Mr. Naris Sugram, the floor is yours.
Ms. Charles, sagacious judges, healthy opposition, viewers, good afternoon. I, Naris Sugram, second speaker of the proposition, will dissect the facts which will reveal the progress we've made as a country to provide not just adequate but beyond adequate medical services. Members of the opposition, are you aware that Guyana's vaccination program is one of the most effective vaccination programs? Well, according to the WHO in 2018, and I quote, Guyana's vaccination program is one of the most successful vaccination programs with high levels of immunization coverage, unquote. Edified opposition, let me just remind you that all of us watching in Guyana and in this noble house are living testimony of the fact of the effectiveness of these programs. Polio, mumps and rubella, chickenpox, hepatitis B, and yellow fever. All of these are illnesses of the past, with most of us here today, especially the younger generation, should be beyond thankful to our medical services who would have eradicated some of these diseases before we were even born. Sagacious judges, informed opposition. Not so long ago, we would have experienced a pandemic, which unfortunately took the lives of many. But Fortunately, Guyanese were able to access not just one, but a variety of COVID-19 vaccines available throughout the length and breadth of Guyana. Most of us here today are fully vaccinated and are taking the opportunity to access the booster shots. Fortunate opposition, did you not receive your vaccines as a child? Did you not receive a vaccine against COVID-19? Well, thankfully, I'm fully vaccinated as a child and now against COVID-19. Honorable judges, ribbons were cut as we welcomed the Infectious Disease Hospital in September 1st, 2020, to house 197 patients in intensive care. This building was renovated to facilitate ICU services in less than 1 year, and this is the capability of our medical services to react adequately to fulfill the needs of Guyanese in a timely manner. According to the Guyana Chronicle dated September 2nd, 2020. Wise opposition, this isn't the only facility available to Guyanese. As of 2021, the Guyana National Bureau of Statistics published a list of medical facilities accessible throughout the country. And I quote, 400 health centers, 26 district hospitals, 5 regional hospitals, 2 specialist hospitals, 2 rehabilitation and geriatric care hospitals, unquote. Edified opposition. These facilities are accessible free of cost to you, me, and all Guyanese. Moreover, Guyanese has a choice to seek medical services privately, and the government even provides services that are not provided locally by importing the human resources and equipments required. By collaborating with organizations such as the Gift of Life, who comes 2 to 3 times a year to provide pediatric care. According to the Honorable Dr. Leslie Ramsamy, he also mentioned, and I quote, the government heavily subsidized medical care privately. For example, dialysis patients who receive approximately $600,000 annually, unquote. In addition, according to Dr. Bob Ramnott, General Surgeon and CEO of the New Amsterdam Hospital, and I quote, April 29, 2022, the first day in history that AV fistula surgery was done at the New Amsterdam Hospital. Members of the opposition, this is medical services now moving past adequacy to convenience. Thank you.
Thank you, Naresh. The second speaker of the opposing team, Ms. Kimberly Smith, will now come to speak.
Maya Angelou we are only as blind as we want to be. Well, today I stand before you with 2020 vision because I refuse to pretend that all is well in our beloved country. 1,228, dated April 28, 2022. That is the amount of people who died with the COVID-19 virus in Guyana. In just 777 days of our first COVID-19 case on March 12, 2020, according to United Nations, Guyana lost 0.2% of its entire population, a fraction of which was due to inadequate medical services. Inadequate medical services is a social issue that has plagued Guyana, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. As such, I, Kimberly Smith, the second speaker of my team, will be exemplifying the lack of physical and mental health resources and services in our country. Perspicuous judges, honorable speaker, members of the proposition, and audience. Article 25 of the International Declaration of Human Rights states that everyone has the right to adequate medical care. Additionally, the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights states and defines adequate medical care as the right of everyone to have the highest possible attainable standard of physical and medical health. Synonym for highest, best, greatest, supreme. Today I stand in this noble house and ask the question, does Guyana's physical and mental health services reign supreme? Most certainly not. Honorable judges, in order for medical services to be considered adequate, there needs to be a sufficient quantity of quality mental and physical resources and services. So, besides the three members of the proposition, is there anyone else in Guyana who believes that medical services are adequately addressed? I know for a fact that Dr. William Adu Crow, the World Health Organization representative for Guyana, does not think so. In a Chronicle newspaper article dated September 3rd, 2020, he disclosed that after a study was conducted in Guyana, it was found that Guyana does not have the medical capacity to accommodate the current or anticipated COVID-19 cases. I would hate to sound like a death announcement, but the cases of overcrowding in hospitals, lack of oxygen, horror stories, and lives that could have been saved but instead were lost are too numerous to mention. On another finger on the same hand, in July of 2020, UNICEF Guyana collaborated with the Ministry of Education to do a survey on the impact COVID-19 had and is still having on the mental health and wellness of all Guyanese. From the survey, 44.4% of respondents were frequently anxious, 34.1% were regularly depressed, and 25.2% consider acts of self-harm. In my professional opinion, as a social work graduate and psychology student, these statistics bypass the borders of crying for help. And it is absolutely disheartening to know that our country is currently not equipped to help or heal the trauma caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Erudite judges, in order to decrease the rate of anxiety, depression, and suicide in our country, there needs to be mental health institutes in every region, a sufficient amount of certified psychologists and psychiatrists, as well as adequate resources. But don't just take this from me. The Honorable Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, disclosed in the previously mentioned survey analysis that Guyana has a dire need for more psychosocial support and trained medical professionals, both in the physical health and mental health department. Ms. Yassin, Mr. Sugrim, and Ms. Reddy, while I understand, acknowledge, and appreciate the great work our government has done, we must not forget the key word in today's debate: adequate. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. I call on the final speaker of the proposition, Ms. Tamara Reddy of Grove Diamond Youths in Development.
all protocols observed, as echoed by our first speaker, I, Timera Reddy, will eradicate the stigma that medical services in Guyana are not adequately addressed. Erudite judges, there's a popular saying that says, the more you get, the more you want. And that's totally understandable. But for anyone to say that medical services in Guyana are not adequately addressed is an unwarranted slap in the face. Nevertheless, let's turn the other cheek. According to the Honorable Dr. Leslie Ramsamy, and I quote, Guyana is leading in organ transplant throughout the Caribbean. Guyana has eradicated nutritional deficiency, which affected majority of our children. No more beriberi, no more scurvy. Successful complicated brain surgery, polyclinics offering digital x-rays and laparoscopy services. Guyana has even moved from fixing simple fracture to now hip replacement. Guyana has a pediatric cardiac theater and a neonatal care, and even corneal transplant, unquote. A lot to digest, right? I know. Impartial judges, the members of the opposition may want to dilly-dally us about drug accessibility, but let me shatter their hopes. According to WHO, quote unquote, 300 essential drugs are deemed necessary for countries to provide adequate care for their citizens. However, according to the Ministry of Health representative on April 25th, 2022, Guyana's essential drug list totals over 1,000 drugs free of cost. Informed opposition. On April 29, 2022, Guyana's essential drug list welcomed the new HIV drug called Biktarvy, not forgetting to mention the variety of other drugs which are available privately. Furthermore, learned opposition, the famous Dr. Sugrim, who specializes in glaucoma and coordinates the diabetic retinopathy program, is now able to sit in his office at Georgetown Public Hospital Center and conduct a diabetic eye screening for a patient who resides anywhere in Guyana and even in remote areas. And this is according to the Caribbean Medical News, April 19th, 2022. Wow, how fortunate are we for technological advancements? Members of the opposition, I'm sure you cannot remember that time when we had less than 100 doctors and about 10 dentists. Now, according to Guyana's Medical Council in 2021, we have over 4,000 trained doctors, dozens of specialists in 14 different areas. Healthy opposition, as you should know, human resource is paramount in the deliverance of medical service, and our medical professionals are pampered right here on our homeland with free training. But please be cognizant of the fact that medical workers are not supreme beings, and death is inevitable. Sagacious judges, according to the World Bank in 2021, Guyana's medical resource ratio to population is 2.6 per every 1,000 lives. This is 0.3 more, surpassing WHO standards. Honorable judges, we are not saying that we have reached a finish line to perfection. No one can expect us to say such. However, our nation's advancements have made medical services more than adequate for our people, and for that, we should at least be thankful and give the progress a round of applause. I thank you.
And I thank you, Ms. Reddy, for remaining within your time. The third speaker of the opposing team is Mr. Delroy Marks. I invite you to the podium.
Honorable Speaker, distinguished judges, my first would articulately lay the foundation, and my second would have distinctly built the pillars and why we are saying confidently that medical services in Guyana are not adequately addressed. I, Delroy Marks, the third speaker on my team, would therefore solidify our argument by revealing the flaws within our medical services in Guyana. One might ask himself, what are these flaws? Well, the major flaws within the medical sector in Guyana is availability and accessibility of medical resources and services in this beloved nation. Honorable Speaker, I know this for a fact because I've attended a workshop hosted by GRPA, World Health Organization, a Pan-American Health Organization, on the 5th and 4th of September 2021, where there were an abundance of information that were disclosed to our disposal. One of those, and I would therefore like to ask our friends on the opposite side this afternoon. They're standing here this afternoon unapologetically debating this motion. I ask them that are they truly sons and daughters of this soil? The Guyana Responsible Parenthood Association placed emphasis on the lack of sexual and reproductive health resources in our country and for the little resources that are available. It is not easily accessible to Guyanese. While GRPA made it known that medical services and resources for the said issue are available only in Georgetown, they are also made known that many regions do not share the same luxury like Georgetown. Honorable judges, as a result of that, the sexual and reproductive resources in the rural area, there's a large amount of teenage pregnancy compared to the urban areas. For example, 105 versus 69, to be precise. Well-advised judges, besides the lack of availability and accessibility of physical resources and service, there's also the availability and accessibility of mental health services in this country. According to the Mental Health Unit, statistics have shown that 14,500 documented Guyanese are suffering from mental health disorder and require some level of mental health care, which represent 15% of our population. I repeat, 15% of our population. Dr. Henry, who works within the mental health unit, noted that there's only 14 psychiatrists in the entire country. I repeat, 14. And also there's only 2 facilities in our country, the Georgetown Public Hospital and the Amsterdam National Psychiatric Hospital, which where I'm from. As a result of limited professionals to address this burden mental health issue, thousands are not getting necessary help required to overcome these challenges. Too many lost their life and thousands will continue to suffer. It breaks my heart that this is only a reality of mental illness in our country. It is yet to be funded. In the biggest budget, 72.3 billion is being invested in health budget of this year, but only 89 million, which represents 2% of the health budget, is allocated to expand the Georgetown Psychiatric Hospital and train profession. All people that say, who knows it, feels it. So now I've exposed the major flaws within the medical services. It is evident despite having some resources, there are still lack of availability and accessibility of others. We mean well. Sometime to help, we need to pinpoint when they are wrong. Members of the proposition, your premise is completely flawed. Medical services in Ghana are not adequately addressed. I thank you this afternoon.
Thank you, Delroy. And that concluded the first part of the debating competition. There we had the Grove Diamond Youths and Development speaking and going against the Angois Avenue Youth Friendly Space. We will now allow our debaters 5 minutes to prepare their rebuttals. During that time, I invite Mr. Yannick December, our Public Relations Officer here at the Parliament Office, to tell us a little bit about the rules of the competition. Yannick?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The rules of the competition are as follows. Each team must consist of only 3 members. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The rules of the competition are as follows. Each team must consist of only 3 members, all from the same youth group. Failure to comply will result in the disqualification of the team. Once a team has started the competition, no member shall be replaced. The first speaker will be the first speaker of the proposition, followed by the first speaker of the opposition, and shall alternate in this order. The time allotted for each speaker are as follows. First speaker, 5 minutes. Second speaker, 4 minutes. Third speaker, 4 minutes. And for the rebuttal, 5 minutes. The rebuttal will be done by the first speaker on each team, in the order of opposing, then proposing. No new arguments or material shall be introduced into the rebuttal. 10 points will be deducted for introduction of new arguments. A bell will be rung first to indicate that the speaker should commence. The second bell will indicate that 1 minute is remaining, and there will be a final bell when the time has elapsed. 5 points will be deducted from each speaker who does not adhere to the allotted time. In the event of technical difficulties, a speaker may be allotted additional time. This is at the discretion of the judges. Speakers may refer to notes but should not read them. 5 points will be deducted from any speaker who reads a prepared speech. Points will be awarded for reasoning and logic, originality, relevance, mechanics, articulation, attitude to opponent, development of argument, and cohesion. And finally, the judges' decisions are final. Those are your rules for this.
Those were the rules of the competition. We have quite a number of persons viewing us online, and so we go to the online comments. Vlissus Edwards is saying, interesting moot. Indrani is saying, good luck guys, kudos to all. AJ said, excellent debate. Nandini Mohitram, two very, very strong first speeches. Vlissus Edwards again, she's saying, I want to be her friend, Latoya. Angie Sukai, excellent speakers. I'm sure anyone would want to oppose the moot. However, it will all come down to who presented best. Very good points, well executed. Someone else is saying, man, this is a hot debate. I agree, very much riveting. I am so enjoying this and can't wait for the rebuttal. And I believe we may have 1 more minute or 2 more minutes to the rebuttal. 1 minute to the rebuttal. Nandini is saying, excellent job goes out to both teams. So congratulations to both of you so far. Very good presentation on both sides, says Keisha Benedict. And Chantridat is saying, stiff competition. And I must say, I quite agree. To remind you of our judges for today, our chief judge is Mrs. Indrani Chandrapal, chairperson of the Women and Gender Equality Commission. Mrs. Chandrapal has been a member of parliament for approximately 27 years. She's also served as 2-term Minister of Social Security and Human Services. Our second judge, Mrs. Monette Garnett Christopher, is the Chief Admin Officer here at the Parliament Office. Started her career at Queen's College as an economics teacher, and then joined the Parliament Office as Expenditure Planning and Management Analyst too. She holds a Master of Business Administration degree and a Bachelor of Social Sciences degree in economics. Our third judge, Ms. Miracle Miller, former youth parliamentarian, former best speaker in Youth Parliament 2018, also a geologist. Those are our 3 esteemed judges for today. And our timekeeper has indicated that it's time for the rebuttals. We call on the first speaker of the opposition, Angoy's Avenue Youth Friendly Space, and she is Ms. Latoya Bethune. Latoya, floor is yours.
To my Christian brothers and sisters, I greet you in the name of our precious Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. To our Hindu brothers and sisters, Namaste. To our Muslim brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. Our Rastafarian generals, Jah Rastafari, Emperor Slice Yai. resolved. Medical services in Guyana are not adequately addressed. Is my team and I aware of the billions of dollars invested in the health sector? Definitely. Are we aware of the phenomenal aspiration our government has for the health of all Guyanese? Absolutely. But we must not surf on the waves of future plans, especially not when the mood is speaking about the present. Allow me to redefine adequately. Cambridge Dictionary defines adequately as a way that is enough or satisfactory for a particular purpose. Wise judges. Today, the members of the proposition are trying to play tug and war with the word adequate. But I will end their game by placing emphasis on Article 12 as mentioned by my second speaker. Judges, Article 12 of the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights defines adequate medical services as a right of everyone to have the highest attainable standard of physical and mental health. Tell me now, does Guyana have the highest standard of health care? If so, then why is it that the cases of overcrowding in hospitals, lack of oxygen, horror stories, and lives that could have been saved but instead were lost are on an uproar? Distinguished judges, in order for medical services to be considered adequate, there needs to be sufficient quantity of quality physical and mental health resources. Judges, I acknowledge the fact that the first speaker made mention that everyone has a right to free medical services. This leaves me, wise members of the proposing team, to ask the question, what's the point of free services when it is not top class? Equal chances, you say. Then I guess the indigenous people of our great soil are not Guyanese and should not be considered as Guyanese people or persons of this soil. How can you say such when research clearly shows that there's uneven access in region 1, 7, 8, and 9? Are vaccines alone the key to save lives? Who is going to distribute these vaccines in our hinterland regions when there are hardly medical personnel in those areas? Judges, I'm pretty sure the family of persons who died from this deadly virus of inadequacy in our country would beg to differ that medical services in Guyana are adequately addressed. I guess there's a song that says, who feels it knows it. Me, I feel it from a little and I grow. Everyone who feels it knows it. I guess the members of the proposition has not had a felt of what it feels like to lose someone. While we do not expect perfection, we expect adequacy. Unfortunately, that is not something we have in this country called Guyana, and it's a shame to say as a Guyanese citizen. The third speaker mentioned 4,000 doctors being trained, but trained in what? Remember, Guyana is 214,969 square kilometers in size, and the growing population is faced with a different variety of health issues. You see, my granny does always say, you not see thing daytime and wait till nighttime and look for it with firewood. We see it in the day and we address it now. Medical services in Guyana needs to be adequately addressed. How many more must carry this load? How many more persons have to die at the hand of inadequate medical services for us Guyanese to open our eyes and stand up for our right to say that medical services in Guyana are not adequately addressed? I rest my case.
Thank you, Latoya. Coming to rest her case is Ms. Bibi Yassin from the proposing team, Grove Diamond Youths in Development. Bibi?
Moderator, sagacious judges, healthy opposition, viewers all. Permit me to remind us all that we have not reached the finish line to perfection. However, our nation's advancement have made medical services more than adequate for our people, and for that we must be thankful. Impartial judges, permit me this opportunity to administer the vaccine to the virus the members of the opposition are spreading in this noble house, that medical services in Guyana are not adequately addressed. The first speaker of the opposition stood boldly to mention about the poor health care in Region 1. However, honorable judges, my third speaker made mention of the fact that citizens in Region 1 are adequately addressed, and these citizens are able to access beyond free basic health care, which includes retinopathy screening. Honorable judges, the healthy member continued to talk about the Health Vision 2020. However, I would have clearly stated that the 2016-2020 targets which were met were beyond basic and included the eradication of, or let's say the eradication of vector-borne and waterborne diseases. The member mentioned that there is only 2 drugs that are accessible, which she would have made mention of Panadol and Chlorophane. However, my third speaker mentioned that the WHO standard is 300 essential drugs to be deemed essential to provide adequate care in any country. However, in Guyana, we currently have over 1,000 essential drugs free of cost to all Guyanese. Honorable judges, how can we say Panadol and Chlorophane are the only drugs available? Wise opposition, I am sure you can access beyond these. Since this year, budget allocation 2022 would have had $15.2 billion for the purchasing of drugs, reaching beyond the needs of our citizens. The healthy second speaker stood to mention the devastating effects of COVID-19 on our population. However, honorable judges, my second speaker made mention of the efforts our nation has made in providing ICU facilities for patients in less than 1 year. And this is the capability of our medical system to react adequately to fulfill the needs of all Guyanese in a timely manner. Wise opposition, we must not forget medical professionals are not supreme beings, and death is inevitable, as my third speaker would have mentioned. Additionally, the healthy member mentioned that Guyana has a dire need for medical professionals, but allow me to remind her that my third speaker made mention of WHO standards, which has 2.3 medical professionals per every 1,000 lives. However, Guyana has 2.6 medical professionals per every 1,000 lives, and this is 0.3 more than the WHO standards. Are we still having difficulties understanding maths? Honorable judges, the third member of the opposition continues to spread the virus that medical services in Guyana are not adequately addressed. However, he mentioned that 2% was spent in the expansion of GPHC psychiatric services. However, honorable judges, this totals, if we do the math again, this will total to $1.464 billion on a population like ours. This is beyond adequate. Sagacious judges, Guyana is continuously climbing the ladder to provide more for her citizens, and this is beyond adequacy. She is fulfilling the needs of all Guyanese. Impartial judges, we refuse to allow people that are living in denial to waltz in and undermine the advancement of Guyana's medical services, which is more than adequate. As a nation, we must give the progress a round of applause. Audience all. The reality is, and I quote, medical services in Guyana are adequately addressed, unquote. I thank you.
Thank you, Bibi. That brings us to the end of our rebuttals, done by 2 former best speakers. To remind you of our teams, today we have the Grove Diamond Youths in Development, and their speakers were the first speaker, Ms. Bibi Yassin, 22 years old from Luzignan, East Coast, Demerara. The second speaker, Mr. Narish Sugrim, 22 years old from Herstelin, and I hope our tech guys would show our debaters. The third speaker, Ms. Tamira Reddy, 22 years old from Craig Village, East Bank, Demerara. The opposing team today is the Angois Avenue Youth Friendly Space, and their speakers are first speaker, Ms. Lathoya Bethune, 18 years old from Rose Hall Town, Quarantine. Second speaker, Ms. Kimberly Smith, 20 years old from Quarantine, Berbice. And the third speaker, Mr. Delroy Marks, 21 years old from Rose Hall Town, Berbice. And the moot just concluded is medical services in Guyana are adequately addressed. I'm looking at our judges and recognizing they're having a little difficult task there. So let me take this opportunity to make an announcement. Our next debate was scheduled for next Tuesday. However, there is a sitting of the National Assembly on Tuesday. And so we push our debates back. So the next debate would be on Friday, the 20th of May. Those would be the debates to conclude the quarterfinals. Thereafter, we go, of course, to the semifinals. Congratulations to both teams today. And I'd like to say that while waiting on our judges, we look forward to seeing you in Youth Parliament 2022. Of course, in this competition, 16 youth groups participated. 8 of those groups, unfortunately, could not advance. And so we will invite them at another time next year to participate in the Speaker's National Youth Debating Competition. We have 8 teams advancing. After the quarterfinals, we'll move to the semifinals with 4 teams and then proceed to the finals with the 2 teams. All of the 8 winning teams from the first round will advance to become members of Youth Parliament 2022. And there was another outstanding team which lost by a 0.1, which we intend to invite as well. As Mr. Speaker said this morning, next year we're going to have regional competition, regional youth debating competition. And in those regions, whichever team advances or comes out as the victor, that team will proceed and advance to the nationals. So we're going to have regional debating competitions, and then we're going to have one national youth debating competition. So in this way, we widen participation, and other groups will have the chance to advance also to Youth Parliament. Judges, are we ready? They need some more time. And so at this time, I'd like to recognize some of the hardworking staff of the Parliament Office. They have been working assiduously to ensure that this debating competition is a success. And I will begin to my left, the first staff in front, Ms. Juliana Chatterpaul, and our tech guys will just give you a glimpse of what Juliana looks like. Ms. Juliana Chatterpaul, and she is also responsible for the lovely trophies you see on the table behind her. Next to Julie is Miss Nadila Allen. She is one of the persons who takes care of our youth debaters for the finals at the hotels, which we would host them at. Next to her is Miss Delon Adams, coordinator of the judges for the youth debating competition. Behind the first row, the first person is Safraz. I always forget his surname, so he's laughing. But Mohammed, Safraz Mohammed. Safraz is another hard worker responsible for getting all of our debaters from out of the regions to Georgetown for the finals of the competition. So you want to be good friends with Safraz. Next to him is Miss Koala Robertson. Most of the debaters would know her, but for our online viewers, Koala assists with coordinating the participation of all of our debaters. Next to her is Miss Candace Gerard Kirton. She also coordinates all the activities with the youth debaters, their spreadsheets, their information, ensuring that they know when they have to debate, all of that. They share those responsibilities. Miss Christina Ramroop, she is the parliamentary executive assistant, and she also works with the youth competition team to ensure that all our judges, the speaker, everyone gets their programs, and she assists me basically with coordination. So those are the persons, and of course, I am Ms. Carlita Charles, the Parliamentary Executive Officer and Coordinator of the Speakers National Youth Debating Competition. And I see our judges are ready. Before I call on our chief judge, allow me to give the floor to Judge Miller for some comments.
Madam Moderator, parliamentary staff, debaters all, and fellow judges. It was a real pleasure to be a part of the adjudicating team this afternoon. The debate was, and I would put in a youthful term, hot and steamy. I did enjoy arguments from both the proposing and the opposing team. I noticed a lot of recent events that were quoted, and I must congratulate each person who presented here on their research. However, what I did not notice was I was looking for more contrast from previous years. So when you tell me that you have adequate services in 2022 based on the World Health Organization and based on UNICEF, I would have looked for a contrast in sometime probably 1995 or some other year a bit further, 2017, 2013 or something like that. But I do commend you on the recent topics that you put forward. One thing that I must note, when you are delivering a speech, some persons deliver their speech pretty quickly. They kind of try to run through. I do understand that you have a lot of points that you would like to put forward, but take time and breathe. Take time to pause and bring forward your arguments very clearly to us. So I saw a lot of vigor, a lot of enthusiasm. I did notice in some speakers that they had good voice modulation. I really, really love the fact that from one of the themes, I heard a lot about mental health awareness. And I don't know if you guys are aware, but we are in Mental Health Awareness Month, which is the entire month of May. And I do commend that speaker on highlighting and putting forward arguments supporting mental health awareness. Overall, it was a really, really good debate. The decision was very difficult because the scores came very close to each other for me. So I do want to say that both teams did put forward excellent arguments, excellent research was shown. It was really, really, really edifying this afternoon, and congratulations to the winning team. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Miller. And now we move to Judge Mrs. Christopher.
Thank you, Ms. Charles. Good afternoon, everyone, and congratulations to both teams. I must say the topic is very important, and your arguments were very concise, except for some debaters who I believe needs to work more on your arguments in order to strengthen and to support your positions. In terms of originality, I think that it was an ultimate advantage in you being true to yourself. It tells us that you're confident. When you can stand and speak to us in this original manner, it tells us that you have great confidence. In terms of your pitch, you are very clear and concise. However, there was some amount of stuttering, right? There was some amount of stuttering which affected your fluency. Do not read, just refer to your notes. As you may be aware, 5 points are deducted from your presentations if you're to read. So try as much as possible to avoid reading. In terms of your grammar, I wish you can really work on that in moving forward. Whichever team would be moving forward, work on your grammar. Try to make use of a lot of transition words to emphasize your points. For example, hence, however, moreover, further, those kind of words in order to strengthen your points. In all, I think it was a good session this afternoon. And again, I wish to congratulate both teams and may the best team move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Christopher. And now for the announcement of the winning team and the best debater, along with some comments, I invite our chief judge, Mrs. Indrani Chandrapal.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator, distinguished presenters. Once again, I would say that we had a very excellent debate. I was very pleased to listen to some of the presenters in terms of the research that was done. And I believe it is the way to go, that we always have to ensure that we do the research. And I want to endorse some of the points that were raised before by my two colleagues in terms of the voice modulation, in terms of reading. I've seen that happening again. The pace in which you presented your thoughts, the speeding. I looked at your body language again. While there was confidence, there was that a little bit of screaming, maybe shouting. So it is not how loud you speak, it is how you modulate your voice so that you're heard, but at the same time, the way you present yourself, you can enhance the discussion that you are involved in. And a little bit of that, I've noted that there was some screaming, which I want to encourage. You have to desist as much as you can from that kind of that kind of manner in which you present yourself. It was a tough decision for us to make because both sides, you have done very well. However, like in everything else, someone has to win. Whether it's half a point or a single point, there must be a winner. So I would say that from the proposition side, there is a best speaker, and that is Ms. Tamara Reddy. We looked at you in the way the totality of your presentation, and we believe you deserve the best debater. So that aside, we want to say that the team that has won today is the opposition. I also would want to say the proposition was you did very, very well, and I want to encourage you next time around. I'm sure you will be able to make it next time around. So you learn from today and then you try very hard next time so that you can win. I recall the opposition team, when they came to us, they had lost in terms of that the last time you were here. But you see that you have, perhaps you have taken the advice that was given to you and you came prepared and now you're able to do even better. So congratulations, both teams. And I wish all of you the very best as you embark on future debates. And always remember, this is a learning process. And if you don't do it right now, you will do it again, because whatever advice you would have received, you will go back and you will try to improve upon it and do the very best you can. So congratulations. And I hope next time around you will do even better, both sides. But doesn't mean that the opposition hasn't got a lot more work to do. You have to do a lot more. So congrats and all the best to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief Judge.
And I just need to say that in terms of the proposition, 259 and the opposition 265. So you can see the margin, not a great margin. So it's 259 versus 265. We're just looking at a mere 6 points. So come good again the next time, and I'm sure you will do very well.
Thank you, Chief Judge. Let's give a round of applause for all our debaters. Congratulations, best debater, Tamira Reddy from Craig Village, East Bank, Demerara, and she's from the Grove Diamond Youth in Development. Congratulations also to Angoy's Avenue Youth Friendly Space, our winners for today. We conclude our debate, and I'd just like to say thank you to our judges, thank you to the debaters for coming, thank you staff, thank you viewers,